Welcome to this session. My name is Esther Stokes, and in this session I'll briefly introduce the ACT initiative, Assessing Low Carbon Transition. Let's start by watching a short animation that gives a good introduction to what ACT is.
In a world where the climate change question has become increasingly important, organizations have learned how to account for their greenhouse gas emissions. For the last 15 years, this accounting system has enabled them to more clearly identify the emissions associated with their activities and see which actions could reduce them. Company actions have gained momentum, particularly over recent years, but the time has come to ensure that these commitments lead to tangible results. Given the continued growth in global emissions, reversing this trend is now a matter of urgency. Steps must be taken to improve the indicators reported in order to highlight those organizations whose practices and activities are truly aligned with the demands of a low-carbon economy. Also, new tools and concepts have recently emerged. On the basis of these tools, and to meet the 2 degrees Celsius commitment, we need, sector by sector, to provide companies with a shared vision of the changes to commit to. Investors also need reliable information to assess how companies orchestrate their transition towards a low-carbon economy. To meet this need, 2 key actors have decided to join forces in a pilot project. Over a period of 12 months, the project will bring together many different stakeholders, from economic leaders to institutional investors. The aim is to define which criteria need to be taken into account and which rating methodologies need to be developed in the chosen sectors. And finally, to test the chosen methodologies with pilot companies. For greater efficiency, the project focuses on 3 sectors of activity: electricity production, automotive manufacturers, and the retail industry. These 3 sectors were chosen in view of the wide variety of climate issues that they cover, complex value chains, and their key roles in the energy transition process. New partners regularly join this pilot project. It was christened ACT to distinguish between organizations that in their carbon strategy, R&D projects or investment policies develop the capacity to translate their pledges into action towards a low-carbon economy. The project results will be presented at COP22.
So now that you've seen the video, you should have a reasonable idea of what the ACT, or Assessing Low Carbon Transition Initiative, is about. But just to be sure, here are the important points to retain. The ACT initiative supports and connects different climate management initiatives, like the keystone in an arch, ensuring they are stable and can fulfill their intended purpose. First, a company measures what it's doing. Then it reports it publicly. It then starts actively managing climate issues in terms of governance, incentives, greenhouse gas reduction initiatives, and short-term and long-term commitments, for example, a science-based target. ACT then assesses if the company is doing enough to achieve low-carbon transition by 2050. The ACT initiative provides the means to both navigate low-carbon transition and track progress by companies towards it. It assesses whether or not the decisions companies have made, are making, and will make are in line with the low-carbon transition. It provides the credibility needed to back up corporate commitments on climate. Given that we have a very short time to halve emissions, it's critical we're aware of where companies really are in terms of transitioning. Consumers, investors, and governments can incorporate this knowledge to create incentives and tools for change when they buy products from, provide finance to, tax or regulate companies. ACT provides a toolbox for different users to help them drive us towards a low-carbon economy. The past 2 years have built a foundation for the ACT initiative. The challenge now is to grow it from this base of dozens of companies so it can cover thousands of companies worldwide and provide comprehensive and reliable information to consumers, investors, policymakers, and the general public. To scale up, we need to build support for ACT from government agencies, NGOs, investors, and companies themselves. The ACT initiative will be working in the years ahead to achieve this. But first things first. In the next sessions, you'll learn about the ACT framework and its application to develop ACT methodologies, and how these methodologies work for specific sectors. That's the end of the quick introduction to the ACT initiative. Thank you for listening.